What's up, everyone? So today we're talking about Coinbase and how it's back in the news again. Hackers basically bribed their employees, their third-party employees, to steal customer data and are demanding $20 million as a ransom. It's not much of a shock if you actually understand the company's history. And this is, in fact, a company that's been selling out its own users to the feds for years. The mainstream news is focusing on all the wrong parts of the story, in my humble opinion. Like, customer data was compromised. Names, addresses, government IDs, account details, all of that absolutely sucks for those that trusted this company. But this, isn't the actual scandal here. The real scandal is that Coinbase has been voluntarily handing over your data to the federal agencies as a standard practice for years and probably getting compensated for it. I think it's one of the first episodes of Darknet Demystified that I actually did, which is a podcast on this channel for those of you that are new, that I actually pointed out that this was a fairly big player and a lot of different people getting busted by the feds and getting decades in prison. Now, in the first half of 2020 alone, Coinbase actually responded to 1,914 law enforcement requests. By 2023, that number had exploded to 12,320. That's a 66% increase in 3 years. And guess who's their biggest customer? It's the FBI, making up over 30% of all these requests. Now, the question is, at what point did an exchange that's supposed to empower financial freedom become the Fed's favorite informant? Now, remember why cryptocurrency was created in the first place. It wasn't so central entities could, track your every transaction and move and hand that information over to the government. But that's exactly what Coinbase has actually been doing systematically and enthusiastically for years. Cryptocurrency was built on the principle of financial sovereignty, the idea that you control your money without intermediaries. Satoshi's original Bitcoin white paper actually described peer-to-peer electronic cash systems, and more or less free from third-party oversight was the intent. Yet Coinbase has become the antithesis of this vision, functioning as a surveillance choke point rather than a gateway to financial freedoms. They've helped the FBI arrest 14 people in a single case alone. They've assisted in things like insider trading arrests, turning in their own former employees. They sold blockchain analytics to ICE, specifically designed to track crypto for users. They've even handed over financial data on 500,000 users to the IRS without requiring individual suspicion. Coinbase itself is basically a big Fed honeypot with a different name. So how many of you actually got into crypto for privacy, for freedom from centralized control, for the promise of financial sovereignty? Let me know in the comments. If any of those reasons actually matter to you and you actively use Coinbase, why are you still using an exchange that actively works against all three of those things? Look at how Coinbase responded to this extortion attempt. Their first move wasn't to focus on protecting your remaining data or strengthening their security. It wasn't to offer to pay for a third-party service to protect their users in a worst-case scenario. Instead, it was to offer $20 million reward for information leading to arrest. So even in crisis, their first instinct is to bootlick and further cement their relationship with law enforcement. It's absolutely wild to me. So what are the actual alternatives? Well, if you're still handing over your passport to Coinbase, you're kind of asleep here at the wheel. So one thing to know is that there are, entire ecosystems that are designed very specifically to keep you in control, and anonymous, basically decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and SushiSwap still let you trade directly from your wallet with no questions asked. But that's just kind of the surface level. If you want real privacy, you can go to where surveillance can't actually follow. Platforms like Bisq and RoboSats let you buy Bitcoin directly from other people with no KYC or middleman, no tracking that I saw. Though, if I'm wrong, absolutely, please let me know in the comments. Havno takes it a step further with Monero-based P2P design that's built to actually resist forensic analysis by default. And this is by far the best option, in my opinion. Up next, we have Bolts and CoinSwap, which are built for instant anonymous swaps without ever touching an actual exchange. Infinity and Wizard Swap do it over Tor. Peach, Krypton, and Bexel offer fiat gateways that actually preserve your identity by design and not as an afterthought. Trade.org, love it or hate it, is still relatively wide open and has kept KYC out for years. Swapter, Majestic Bank, Sideshift, Bitcoin, every one of them offers a different way to move value without actually giving up your sovereignty. Essentially, the bottom line is that it's not 2020 anymore. You don't have to beg centralized exchanges for access. You don't have to, pretend KYC is just a minor inconvenience anymore. There absolutely is privacy respecting infrastructure nowadays. And it's a lot of times better, faster, and way more honest than the platforms that are selling you out behind closed doors. If you're still using Coinbase, then it's not because you don't actually have options. It's because you choose that over actual control. And in 2025, that's absolutely a choice with consequences. When you use Coinbase, you're not just paying trading fees, you're funding a company that's actively undermining the principles of cryptocurrency. You're supporting a business model that profits from actually stabbing its users in the back. So the question isn't whether Coinbase will sell you out. I mean, they've already done that, and it's very well documented in public knowledge. The only question is, when will you actually finally decide, if you are using Coinbase, to take your crypto elsewhere if you are a Coinbase user? Because at this point, sticking with Coinbase isn't just risky. It's directly funding a surveillance state that crypto was actually built, some would argue, to circumvent, which is another reason why you should absolutely go with Monero, because a lot of the other options are just trash. Anyways, that's a side issue. That's a whole nother video. I'm not going to go on a tangent. So thank you guys once again for watching to the end. As always, it's great seeing you, and I'll see you in the next video.